Of 10 queer erotic stories. Everyone's a little bit different, different sexualities, different genders, but I've never actually publicly read from this book. I personally feel like it's something to read on your own. But I would love to share with you one of the characters from one of the stories, and what they mean to me, because every one of these characters, though they're a different gender, different identity, each one is of me, so to speak. As a person who identifies as non-binary, I wrote a story from the male perspective from a character named Matthew. And so my parents told me from a young age if I was going to be born a boy, they would have named me Matthew. So I identify with this name in my masculine sense. And so I would like to tell you a little bit about this character. I think it's the third or fourth story in my book. Is called, pardon me, it's called Like Paint Spilled Onto Canvas. And it's about a theater actor. His real name is Matthew. He plays Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And personally, I'm not terribly a Shakespeare fan. I have an English degree, but I never had to read Shakespeare for my major. But I like the character of Puck in particular because of this trickster element, and the idea of playing this part of yourself that it's not evil, but I think it's playful. I think it can come across as evil depending on who witnesses this, but I like this trickster character of Puck. So Matthew is a stage actor who plays Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And a man approaches him after one of the performances, and this man has had a gallery show next door, and he's a painter. An older man. I picture Matthew as around mid-20s, late 20s, with red hair, shorter, a little, somewhat like mine, I suppose. But the masculine version of myself. So he's heightened from this performance of playing Puck, and this man named Leon comes and introduces himself to him after the performance, and he's taken by Matthew. He says, "Pardon me, but if I may be so bold, so forward, I have just found my next subject that I would like to paint." And this story, Like Paint Spilled Onto Canvas, is inspired by a French film. I cannot pronounce the French name, but I believe the filmmaker Jacques Rivette. And it's just this 4-hour film of this painter who's discovered his muse after years of not having a muse. His wife was his muse, and there's a story about their relationship. She's kind of faded in his eyes, but he is friends with this other painter, and this painter's girlfriend becomes his new muse, and the film is following his inspiration of this young woman, and you see her stark naked for much of the film, and she's just striking and beautiful, but she's also very cold. And it's a very erotic film, but it's not so very much sexual. Like, you see the artist view of her body, which I really appreciate. So I wanted to encapsulate that in the story I wrote. So this man, Leon, introduces himself to Matthew after the show, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and invites him to his studio to paint him. And so this is me imagining on the trans spectrum, so to speak, what it would be like to have a male body, and to get this attention from a man who is not only noticing me sexually, but noticing me as an artist. And so I write from Matthew's perspective, who is in Leon's studio, surrounded by classic literature. One of my favorites, Anais Nin, an erotic artist as well as diarist. So Leon has these stacks of her diaries in his studio as well as other classics. And Matthew takes note of this. This is an uncommon man. This is a man who actually notices the beauty of the physique. He's not just being lustful. He's not just here seducing me, he's actually here noticing me. And I think there's something so erotic about photographers and painters who notice the physique, that they're not just there to fuck, so to speak, but to truly notice the beauty of the body. And I wanted to understand what that meant from a man's perspective. So this is a story of two men. Just to plug, this is available. I have some copies with me today if you're interested, but primarily I just want to talk about Matthew. And let me back up. This book is put out by Outfront Magazine. They're one of the oldest queer magazines in the country that is still running, maybe the oldest, I believe. And they've recently started putting out books, and my book was the first that they put out. And so for a while, my friend Addison here in Wheeler runs the magazine. I was putting out a column every month, and so there was a prompt, and the prompt for this one happened to be in April, and so it was 420, and so there's the prompt of smoking weed. So it's there's the element of smoking a joint during this artist session to loosen the artist as well as the subject, and so hopefully. I would encourage you to read the story if you're interested at all. You can find it online, as well as in the book. And I think I might be out of time, but I just, personally, I'm more interested in sharing about my characters than reading publicly, because I think you can read on your own, but hopefully you're interested in the character itself. I have others beyond just male characters. I have non-binary characters and female characters, lesbian pairings as well as gay pairings. But thank you so much. I'm honored to be part of this event tonight. That's been going on for so many years. Again, my name is Amanda E.K., and I have The Risk It Takes to Bloom Out. Thank you so much.